Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happy Musician Vlogcast. I'm Candace, your happy musician, and this is a vlogcast where happy musicians come to talk. So my guest today is, okay, it's a list. Composer, musician, singer, teacher, Colton Weatherston. He teaches podcasting at Temple University, and you are also do film scores, and you actually did the film score for one of my favorite shows, Adam Ruins Everything. I love this show. So thank you, Colton, for being my guest today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So how did you, I have a quick, before I get into my interview questions, I just have a quick question. How did you get into writing film scores?
Well, I should say that I was part of a team that worked on that show, and the leader of the team was a guy named Leo Bierenberg, and so I was basically his assistant on that project. But the way it works with film and television music is there's huge deadlines that you have to meet and do a lot of work within a short period of time. So it's usually a situation where the leader of the project organizes all of the work and writes all the main themes, and then gives the rest of the work to the assistants who then flesh it out. So you get this kind of the scaffolding of the show put together, and then everybody collaborates to get everything finished. So Leo is the leader of that project, but it was fun. I ended up writing about a third of the cues for that season, so that was great experience.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like watch it now with all new ears, not eyes, but ears.
But the way to answer your question, how did I get involved with that? I met Leo in school. We went to a graduate school program together at USC in 2010 through 2011. And so I think I found that is a very that's a process that happens again and again in life. I end up working with my cohort of peers, that I went to school with. I'm still friends with people that I went to kindergarten with, and through all these different stages of life, you meet people that are you have a connection with, and then sometimes it turns into work situations, especially with music. There are people all throughout my music education experiences that I continue to work with to the present time.
My first question to you are going to be kind of easy, and then they kind of get a little hard. So my first question is, what are you currently reading right now?
What am I currently reading? Well, I'm reading a lot of children's books to my son. That's like one of my main reading.
That's a good thing, right?
That's great. Yeah, he's going to be 7 in January. So, but he is he really enjoys reading, and he's reading like kind of above his grade level. So it's kind of exciting because we could share sometimes more complicated books than, just the standard children's book repertoire. That stuff's fun too. But
what's the same? Is there a particular book that he keeps coming back to?
Well, he really likes, we have this children's edition of The Call of the Wild by Jack London. And we also saw the movie before COVID when we could go to movies. So with Harrison Ford and
yeah, it's a good movie. It's deep.
Yeah. And it gets on into a lot of themes that are even maybe a little bit scary for a child.
Yeah.
Or for an adult for that matter.
Right.
But I really enjoyed that. So that's kind of the most, I think, noteworthy piece of literature that I've
Still good stuff. It's important. It's still good stuff. I feel like there's no wrong book to read, and if just as long as you're reading something, even if it's the paper, whatever. So my mom used to say I was a readaholic. My mom said you would read the toilet paper in the bathroom. I think she's right. I haven't experienced that, but I think she's right. So I totally, as long as you're reading, you're reading. So, reading the child version of, The Call of the Wild is, heads much better than reading toilet paper. So you're good. You're in a good place.
It's fun reading like children's books, or I guess Call of the Wild is almost like an early example of YA fiction, like young adult.
Yeah, it is.
So, but when it's like reading it from the point of view of, because I'm getting close to 50 now, and
no way.
Yeah.
You never know. Okay. Well, you're a lot younger, so just stay that way. But go ahead.
Okay. But it's fun to think of these things from the perspective of a child, and then because you see how the author's like laying things out for you, like certain kinds of conflicts, like talking about danger, and then people making like unkind decisions, and like mistreatment of other people, and there's like a lot of really heavy themes in that book, but and it's also kind of filled with action and excitement, so it's like they go on this journey, but you see these things differently with as you go through these different stages of life. I thought of another one that I read recently for just for my own personal pleasure, and got a lot out of it. So I still feel like I'm relatively new to Philadelphia. We moved here in 2012 or 13.
Okay, you haven't gotten completely dirty. You're not a coach. I lived there all my up until I was I've been out of Philly for 12 years, but grew up in Philly, but yeah, a few more years you'll but you're happy.
I feel like a newbie still. I mean, I do have family that grew up here in the area, I visited them regularly, so I do have a connection to Philly.
Okay.
But so anyways, I'm interested in music and interest. So I read this book by Questlove called Mo Meta Blues, and
I've not read this book. Okay, so do share.
It's like kind of an autobiography, but it's just filled with details that kind of actually helped me if served as almost an introduction to different themes of Philadelphia music.
As a Philadelphian, it's really cool to read books, about where you live, because you think oh yeah, and then you read it, you're like, what? I did not know that. And then sometimes you can create even greater connections because you grew up there. But I like learning what I don't know, and maybe even getting some corrections to what I thought I knew. So I'm gonna put that book on my list. My next question for you, and this is always the most difficult question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. What's your favorite piece or pieces to play or sing? I mean, because you do both. So
that's a great. I feel like it changes sometimes, because I have some songs that have they have a certain mood, and they feel better when I'm in that mood to perform them, and then so I feel like I've developed my set so that I can go through these different levels and steps.
Got it.
And then if the audience is they're with me, and then the band, and we're all together, then when I get to that song, then that song feels really good. Right. So I mean, can I give 3 answers?
Of course you can. You can't give one. I mean, I know that already. So yes, what's your top 3?
So I find I'm always, every time I play, pretty much I do On the Sunny Side of the Street. And I think I just like that song for several reasons. It's the lyrics it's about sunshine, right? And I tend to choose songs to sing that have some kind of Uh, generally, like on the first level, they have an optimistic feeling,
Right.
but then on the second level, they might have the opposite, like a hidden moment of sadness in it that
Right.
makes the experience deeper.
Right.
Um, like there's a line, I used to walk in the shade with the blues on parade, but now I'm not afraid. So it's like sometimes the rain comes out and you're gonna have like the tears and the salt and all that stuff. And then the other times you're gonna have the sunshine and the sugar and all the good stuff. So but I like to like focus on choosing songs that I can relate to lyrically. And that's I think the main reason why that song works is because it's about sunshine and the bright side of life, and then it fits with the setting of the lyrics. It has these chords that the chord progression kind of it feels buoyant
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
forward moving,
Yeah.
and then the middle section, it modulates to the four,
It
the
does.
the four key, and then it feels kind of it brightens up at the end of the middle section, and then you go back, it cycles back to the beginning, and that so it goes through these moments.
Yeah. It takes you on an emotional, I don't want to say a trip, but just a walk.
Mhm.
A
Absolutely, it
whole-
has it's like a walking pace too, so that's a good way to start out a set, um to get into, like, it's like doing a little warm up because
right.
you're like, it has that tempo that, and then when you get the stand up bass
Yeah.
walking the walking tempo, then everybody, it's like it feels right.
Right. You can't, yeah, you have to just go, you have to go with it. I mean, the
Hmm.
sunny side of the street is just a piece that you can't ignore it.
So that one always finds its way into my set. Um, but I was going to give you three.
Yeah. What's the second and the third one?
So I have this um have this great love for Brazilian music.
Ah,
And so I do this song called Falsa Baiana,
ooh.
and we did it on the Kimmel Center.
Yes, we did.
Uh,
I know this song. I didn't play with all that, but yeah,
well,
it's
you played on E Florio Espinho,
yeah, which
and
I absolutely love.
that was so much fun. And I love hearing the harp in a jazz setting. It just like
It was,
makes my heart sing. So thank you for being in the ensemble. That was
well, you're quite welcome.
so
It was
much
my
fun.
pleasure, really. I had a blast. It was, you know, harpist. It's a very solitary instrument. So when you're a part of the band, you're just, I am so happy to be here. Like, it was so awesome, and it was fun. And the piece, the way that you arranged it, I mean, you made it so, I won't want to say easy, but it was so fluid. Like everything that happened was just like, yeah, it totally should happen this way. And so it was just so much fun to play. Like I went home, I was like, my husband's like, "Are you practicing?" I'm like, "No, I'm just playing. This is
It was great. We should see, now we should do more stuff because there's so many great jazz recordings from the like mid-century, like 50s and 60s, that have gorgeous harp parts. But those are like all on the studio recordings. And then when the artist goes out on tour, you've got like a quartet combo playing these songs, but then they go in the studio and they have an orchestra. And that, I love it how when things can bridge between genres.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love the sound of jazz vocals and standards, but with a classical orchestration behind it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
and
cool. It's I feel like when I hear that, I feel like I just like ate one of like the best pieces of chocolate cake ever. That's what
it's great. And yeah, so and I just envision these, like who was the harp player on this
yeah.
such and such Frank Sinatra record, and that that's just I love that kind of when you have that kind of instrumentation
Yeah.
on a standard and Brazilian music is like that also.
Yeah.
And so when I remember writing the harp part for A Florio Espinho, and it's it's uh it's based on I believe the songwriter wrote it on guitar. So there's some sonic similarities between nylon string classical guitar and the harp. Like there's a sonority that is in common,
Right.
and um there should be more duets written, I think, between classical guitar and harp. It's like a gorgeous sound. And
It's
then we had some woods and brass also, because we had Sean Bailey on clarinet and um
we have the Sean's and we have
both Sean's
the Sean's,
and Bob.
Bob and Sean,
Two Sean's and a Bob.
right? But everybody rocked it. That's right. And I was the only girl, but I was like, I didn't even realize it until like halfway through our residency. I was like, oh yeah, I'm the only girl here. That's cool. Because I was having such a good time. But
It's great. We need more of that in the music too. So it was.
and what was okay? So wait, what was the second one again?
Well, I was thinking about Falsa Baiana,
That's what.
which is a faster, more samba tempo,
Yeah.
and then E Florio Espinho is a little more languid bossa nova kind of thing. But actually, my feelings about both of those songs are kind of the same. Uh, I have discovered with Brazilian music that like the rhythm is really special in Brazilian music,
Yeah.
and the rhythm I think comes from the language,
Yeah.
and I mean it comes from the people who make this music, who invented it, and it comes from like the specific historic circumstances that created Brazil.
Yeah. Well,
And
the rhythms are steeped so deeply in their culture, you know.
yes, and I think the language, the Portuguese language that is spoken in Brazil, um, and I don't speak Portuguese, but I've studied these songs, right? And I've kind of memorized the phonetics of these songs. But I noticed like when the vowels have a way of accenting um, what I would call the swing, because in North American music we have like this feeling of swing, which is
We
this
have our
trip,
Western swing, yeah.
right? It's like this triplet feeling that gets superimposed over a march tempo in 4/4 time, and you get this like it's like a shuffle that gets elongated or shortened depending on how you're feeling,
Right. Yeah.
and so yeah, it makes the music groove like that.
Well,
And
music really, I mean, I don't, well, I'm trying to figure out, is my Vlogcast rated G? It makes the music like really sexy. It does. It makes it really sexy. Just like, I've got to move this part of my body this way to it. Like there's no other way to move it.
Mhm.
you know but and when I when you were doing performing these pieces that had based with this Brazilian rhythm, I remember thinking that on stage. I said, if this was a club, people would just be just really having a great time on dance. Slow,
Yeah, that's
sensual, sexy.
yeah, that you're like the music invites you to move,
Yeah,
you know, which I think is like, and then the language goes over the top. Let me see if I can remember the like a line from. So it's like Baiona quiedra amarrado se fica parada cantando samba no bore minada. It's like that where the accents are and the vowels happen, and it's like I picture being on the beach in Rio de Janeiro, and it's like
along with it. You have to move to it. Like you're right. It just, and um, I think that's why I love Latin jazz, but I love Brazilian music. And I'm in my car people say I'm insane, you know, because I'm I'm just moving along and you know, any other music I'm like, yeah, this is good. But I put Brazilian music, I'm just
Yeah, and like the melodies kind of
oh,
flow through this over the top and winding through, and it's just a great experience. And
they knew what
I've
they're
been I've been wondering, like, why do I love this music, or how do I relate to it? Because I'm not Brazilian and I don't really speak Portuguese. I just but there's something that has attracted me to it so much, that I'll spend the time to learn the lyrics phonetically and then transcribe the melodies and find the chord voicings on the guitar, you know. And
right.
the I don't how do I connect that to my own, like, place in history, my own, um
Mhm.
because I'm from Michigan. We get lots of snow in the winter. It's not Brazil.
Close to the equator up there.
But
Oh,
it has the story of Brazilian music has something to do with the story of jazz. And, like, both countries have this fusion of cultures in the music. And, like, you get there's the African element in the rhythm and in the social function of the music. And
exactly.
then you also have these, like, harmonies that think come from, um like, Portuguese fado music, which is like kind of like an art song, but it's also folkloric. And
Mm,
then you have these, like, intimate piano harmonies that Antonio Carlos Jobim, his music has. It almost sounds like Schubert, or Schumann.
right.
Um,
But for with Schumann with Latin,
yeah,
Latin, Latin.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So but these are very similar, like, cultural dynamics that we have in jazz music. Like, if you think about New Orleans, like a person like Jelly Roll Morton, who's one of the founders of our jazz music in the United States. He was taking elements of Caribbean music and elements of Latin music, and putting, it's New Orleans, so it suits itself to this gumbo that people talk about.
Well, I mean, and that's what I think he even in I'm trying to remember I was reading someone else's biography, but they talked extensively about Morton, and I think he even said that, you know, he was like, this is, you know, I don't cook much, but this is my gumbo.
Hmm.
This is what I'm utilizing to feed, and you know, he's like a little of this, a little of that. He's like all thrown into one. He makes a delicious musical meal. And I was like, yes, and it does. You really can't take his music and pigeonhole. I mean, it's jazz, but it's everybody's jazz.
Hmm.
It's everyone. But you know, I think that's why he was, you know, so he left such an impressive mark, such a legacy.
Yes. And it's
Everybody,
something that people have built on. It's like the early scaffolding, and then it's been built up. Jazz is now, like, over 100 years old,
yeah,
and it's this beautiful, beautiful, um, genre that we have. And when I hear Jelly Roll Morton, also I'm hearing, like, his piano voicings. He must have had, like, really big hands, because it goes out,
of
like
course.
like each hand's more than an octave, and he's doing these stride
Right.
combinations in his chord voicings, and it sounds like, um I mean, it's like ragtime adjacent, right? So it
Yeah,
sounds like
but
there's
it's
something in, yeah.
yeah,
But there's the chord structures that he uses and the voicings he uses are, like, very, I mean, it's like he grew up playing Chopin or something, and then put some syncopation on it.
right. Put some dirt on it.
Y Yeah, and it's great. I love it when when you can just feel that through the listening experience.
But yeah, it's hard. Like in jazz, it's complete opposite. It's just like,
Yeah.
yes, smile, laugh. You can tell that dude while you're playing, that was awesome. Let's do it again.
Right.
You know?
You're allowed to like, pat your foot, clap your hand, snap your fingers. You can even like finger guns the
Exactly.
soloist.
It's a whole different freedom. It's much more communal, you know. That's,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I mean, and yeah, it's.
Can you imagine a classical symphonic performance where everybody could just let down their guard
Oh
and
my gosh.
like you could stand up and be, that oboe, your entrance was perfect, man. That bassoon solo. Yeah.
I mean, it was, and the conductor, just totally was like, yes. And I mean, yeah. I think that should be done at some point where, okay, guys, we're just gonna go not like we're gonna pretend like we're in rehearsal and we're gonna do it on stage at performance. The audience would get a kick out of it.
They definitely would.
They would love it. Oh, okay. So let's get back on track. We're all talking about classical and jazz, the two worlds of music. But what was the next question I had? So you told me your favorite pieces. Now this one's always the hardest as well. But what two people have been the most influential to you, and why have they been the most influential to you?
Can I have 3 people?
You're pushing. Well, in the honor of jazz, you can have 3. Well, we will break them all.
Well, I've got to say that my dad is a pretty important influence, and he really got me started playing the guitar. And he sings and plays guitar and sings.
Oh, wow.
So I think like a lot of just the basic concept of like how to hold the instrument, how to strum, how to play lots of different chords. I just learned that through osmosis. How to place the rhythm within yourself, rather than counting
Right.
abstractly, but just feeling it internally. I think I got a lot of fundamentals from him. And and then I had a more formal teacher. His name is Michael Stockdale, and he was a classical guitar teacher. And I studied with him for 5 years at the Institute for Music and Dance in Detroit, Michigan.
All right.
That was a place where a lot of the symphony musicians had teaching studios.
Gotcha.
And then he had a classical guitar teaching studio, and it was great because we worked on really challenging, fun, and exciting repertoire that really gave me a lot of fundamentals on the instrument. So we studied like Fernando Sor and Giuliani, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember these classical guitar composers: Matteo Carcassi, Manuel Ponce.
I know that one. I don't know the others, but yeah, I've heard it.
And so a little bit of Baroque, like Bach and Telemann and stuff like that.
Kind of have to
So
learn that with classical guitar.
what's that?
So I guess you have to touch on Baroque and Bach.
Yeah.
To learn while you're learning classical guitar.
Yeah, and I remember just listening to these great classical guitarists when I was studying with Michael. So I listened to a lot of Christopher Parkening and Julian Bream and John Williams, not the composer, but the British guitarist. And so it's like how to get a sound, how to get a like tone production, how to use your fingers to make the instrument sing, and just getting a good tone playing one chord.
Yeah.
It's like really challenging to break it down to that fundamental level. And I'm really grateful to him for providing me with a really strong foundation in the basics. And then I have a third
All right.
So my I probably have four, but I
Yeah.
want to mention that I spent a lot of time in Detroit with Marcus Belgrave, who
Oh,
was
wow.
he was a trumpet player and jazz educator. He's actually from Chester, Pennsylvania. Um,
Yeah, I know.
but he ran an organization called the Civic Jazz Orchestra, and it
Yes.
was a youth jazz ensemble. And I was in my like mid 20s, late 20s through early 30s, and so he brought some of us young adult guys, like sort of pre-professional music school guys who could be mentors for the ensemble.
Awesome.
And so, but really, he was mentoring us, which was fantastic. So it was a weekly big band, and it was basically like a reading band, and we would get together. It was mostly high school students, some like a few college students, and then us guys who were
Semi-professional.
semi-pro, minor league,
Right.
transitioning trying to get on the way up. And it was great because Marcus kind of brought us all into the mix, and had us reading really great repertoire and just working on phrasing and just being together, um, working with the rhythm section, getting the rhythm section to sound right with the horn section, getting the brass to be in dialogue with the reeds, and
Wow.
um, thinking of a jazz ensemble as an orchestra, the um, and get working on all of the little parts. Every week it was like a sectional, and then we'd have the full ensemble, and then we'd read through stuff, and it was really fun. and
Yeah.
and of course it was the whole time it was like an improv lesson too, because he would pick up his trumpet and just play gorgeous bebop, you know
I'm gonna wrap it up, and I want to thank you for being my guest, and I love the conversations that we have. I think that we definitely have to do something together very soon. I'll do anything. I'll play two notes. I just want to.
glissandi
Yeah,
glissandi.
I'll just do that. I'll be happy to do anything at this point. But yeah, it's definitely a pleasure having you. I'm glad I got you. Your students are very lucky. I hope they know how lucky they are to have you as a professor. But everyone, I just want to thank you. Everything that Colton and I talked about, the books are going to be on the Vlogcast site. They'll be at thehappymusician.com. So Colton, once again, thank you. And
Thank you, Candace.
and um, I'm looking forward to hearing the collaboration between you and Sean. And everybody watch Adam Ruins Everything.
Season 4.
Season 4 with new ears. But I'm Candace. I'm the happy musician. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I will see everyone next vlogcast. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.